Welcome to the Nations of Coaches in-season growth series, a higher level of play. Our special guest today is one of the better young coaches in the country, Coastal Carolina Associate Head Coach, Ryne Lightfoot. Good afternoon, Ryne. It's really good to see you.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Coach. This has been an honor and a blessing to be a part of the growth series, and not only as a participant in what you did this fall. That was so awesome for so many coaches, but just to be a part of it today is an honor.
Well, you're one of the best. Thank you. You've been around Nations of Coaches for a while. You have a lot of involvement with your family and your bride, Justine. What has Nations of Coaches meant to you as a coach?
Yeah, there's so many different avenues that you can take. It's blessed my family, having my parents work for it, my wife work for it, and myself just be very involved in so many different aspects. It's just an organization that is a safe spot for coaches. We always say that it's not a place that very seldom do you have a lot of people that run towards serving. And the organization, Nations of Coaches, is just signed up every single aspect to try to serve the coach, serve the family, and just blessed to be a part of all the different ministry opportunities that they have.
Yeah, great. Thank you. We're going to be talking defense today. You came into Western Carolina, left Grand Canyon, came to Western Carolina you were tasked with improving the team defensively. Last in the SoCon. Your last year there, before you guys headed over to Coastal Carolina, you were the top defensive team overall in the Southern Conference. What were some of the things that you did that you brought with you that changed that so dramatically?
I think one of the things that we really tried to do is we tried to analyze the league of the Southern Conference. And the Southern Conference was just one of those conferences that had a high assist rate. A lot of teams played with pace and shoot the three so well. And so what we tried to figure out is, how do we be different? We may not be able to be the ETSUs, the Greensboros, the Furmans, but we had to find a way for us to significantly change the impact of how we could play. And one of the things that we really decided is we were committed to the defensive side of the floor. And because of that, we found a lot of success through it.
Yeah. You have. You started over at Coastal, almost a brand new team. First day, new defensive philosophy. Tell me two or three of the things that you built into that team when you first started with them.
When you think about defense, or you think about any new team, it's trying to get them connected culture-wise. Like, you wanted the culture to be extremely strong. You wanted them to understand that there's a way of playing, and it has to have intensity, and it's got to have physicality. That's the secret sauce. I think you can have a lot of great systems and great philosophies, but if you're not playing intense and you're not physical while you're playing, you're not going to see the effects that you really want to have on the floor. And that's kind of our secret ingredient, is making sure that we are extremely intense, and then the physicality. And I think a lot of times it takes guys getting used to, even here. We had a lot of new guys and a lot of new team. And so this was kind of the introduction of, like, man, they foul. Yeah, we foul. Like, but if everybody's fouling, no one's fouling.
Okay. Yeah. Don't say that out loud too. Don't say that too loud, huh?
We say it though, but you think about this. You even think about the Bobby Huggins teams that they had at West Virginia.
Sure.
Like, no official wants to call 65 hand checks in a game. Like they were fouling every single time down the floor, but man, they were extremely physical while they did it.
Yeah, you had a great run in basketball. Elite high school player in Indiana, an unbelievable college career, head coach at a very early age. A lot of success being a head coach, and then off to your Division I adventures at Grand Canyon, Western Carolina, and now the associate head coach at Coastal Carolina. What have you learned as you prepare to be a head coach that you didn't know when you first started?
So many things. I think looking back at it, there's so many things you could wish you could do differently. I think the number one thing is, my identity is not in basketball. And I think that's a hard place to get to. For so long, basketball has been a large part of my life, with my dad being a college coach for 30 years. And then me playing my entire life, growing up in gyms. I called myself a bleacher baby because I was just in the bleachers my entire life. And so you think of basketball being such a big deal to so many people's lives, but it's not my identity. And it took a while to get there, which provides the opportunity to say that life is bigger than basketball. And I know we put a lot of hours watching film and got time with the guys, but it's really not the end all be all, that there's a different message that the guys need to have. And I think one of the things that I've learned is that players respect consistency. And so who you are off the court, who you are on the court, who you are after a win, after a loss, as that remains consistent, I think guys respect that as they look through who is this person actually, not just who he is as my coach.
Yeah, great. Coach, what are 2 or 3 of your personal habits that have led to your success?
Yeah, I'm a reader. I love to read. So for me, I'm always trying to read something to further and stimulate my mind, whether that's a leadership book or something that maybe doesn't really have anything to do with basketball. Just trying to find a different way of opening up my mind and allowing myself to really think. And then I'm a workout guy. I have to have my workout every single day. If I miss a workout, Justine will be like, "Hey, did you not work out today? I can tell you're a little testy at home." So it's a part of my daily routine that I have to have more of a release, but it's also amazing how much you can think of when you'll call me at times and I'll be trapped on the Stairmaster for 40 minutes and just have a chance to call somebody and have a great conversation in the midst of a workout as well. But those are 2 things. I love to read, and I'm definitely a workout guy.
Yeah, I love to work out too. My neighbors, I call it a run. My neighbors don't call it a run, but I'm telling you, I run every day, even though they may say it's a fast walk.
Yeah.
3 or 4 are your biggest influences, Coach, that have shaped who you are today as a coach.
Yeah, I want to start with my family, but I've got to start with my wife because what she does more than anything else is she kind of holds up a mirror to who I actually am. I think a lot of times you can get home and you got this basketball face on, but the reality is she knows me better than anybody else. And so it's one of those people that maybe doesn't really help in terms of basketball, but she does. She's a basketball head, but she's not going to say, "Why are you not subbing that guy in?" or "Why are you playing this defense?" But she is going to say, check in with Colin and see how he's doing. He seemed a little bit off today. His spirit didn't seem the same. And so it's allowed me to be a better coach because her influence and her insight that she has. And then my family, just growing up in a basketball environment, my dad being a college coach for 30 years, my brother being a great influence to me and always beating me up as a younger kid to create that little warrior fighter, put that chip on my shoulder. And so he definitely did that for me as well. So in a coaching aspect, just being my time that I spent with Coach Drew at Grand Canyon was very influential to me. You look at kind of the backgrounds. Coach Homer Drew coached at Bethel. My dad played for him at Bethel, got connected to the family. Obviously, Bryce played for Homer. I had a chance to play for my dad in college. So there's a lot of similarities that go into that I can feel that are major influences to what they do. And as well as, guys like you and nations of coaches that have continued to pour into me and give me confidence as a coach and give me opportunities to just plug into the game at a different level, different than just X's and O's.
Well, nations of coaches, we love to serve. And Ryan, speaking of Mike Lightfoot, the legendary coach in Indiana Hall of Fame. Wow. Just multiple national championships and a great coach and an even better man. Let's talk some defense. We want to know your defensive philosophies, what you believe. You've had tremendous success and you're going to share that. It's not only success with wins and losses. Numerically, your defenses have performed at a very, very high level. So take it from here and let's look at your defensive philosophy together. And I'm excited along with the other coaches watching to learn from you. So you got it.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, one of the things that we've made a commitment to is we truly believe that defense wins. And I know we talked about a little bit before we came into Western Carolina. It was one of those situations where, the league was so offensive oriented. And so how do we offset that offense? And we got to be a little bit different. They had multiple teams in the top 100 offensively, but defensively, only one team was in the top 150. And so if we wanted to separate ourselves, we had to separate ourselves through defense. And we created the mentality that defense wins. And the reason why we believe that a lot of times is because of our system. Like, we truly believe in what our system is sacred to us. It's something that we're committed to. And we'll talk about that as we go through this presentation, but it's not one individual player that makes our defense. It's the system and all the guys doing their job and what they're assigned to do. And so when you think about our defense, it's a lot very system-based, and we believe in it. We're committed to it. Some of our knows that we have, our guys have to know our knows. You know, this is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit for our defense. Like, this is it. You got to know your knows. It's no catch and shoot threes. It's no middle and no second chance points. This is sacred to us. This is the mentality of how we play, and truly about the basis and foundation of who we are defensively. And when you think about no catch and shoot threes, like, that's such a big part of the game right now. Teams love to shoot the three ball. We got to find a way to take those away. And then no middle is a little bit more of our physicality that we play on the basketball. And no second chance points is just a mentality that we're going to finish rebounds. And so our guys have to know our knows. Like, it's a major part. If we ask one guy, if a guy popped in here in this random Zoom, I'd say, man, do you know our knows on defense? He would know all three of those in this order is a major important for him. One of the things we really pride ourselves on here at Coastal is having a great culture. Coach G has done an unbelievable job of having culture classes and allowing our guys to truly know what it is to be a teammate and buy in and have trust. But we think great cultures also have subcultures. And one of those things that we have is our defensive culture. We think it's connected, committed, and consistent. These are three things that we truly want to be a part of. When you think about a connected defense, not only are they talking, but they also know exactly what their responsibilities are. You can tell when a defense is connected just through watching film. Like, the guys know what they're supposed to do. They're all in the right places. They know when to rotate. They know when not to rotate. They know what their assignments are, but they're also talking. You know, we watch a lot of film, and one of the things that I try to do is I watch film on mute a lot, because you can see if communication's happening. If you're trying to do a different ball screen coverage, you can see a guy make an unnatural movement because there's been communication that's happened in that play. And a lot of times in transition, if guys are pointing and talking, there's verbals and there's nonverbals that you can pick up on film. But one of the things I love to do is I love to watch practice on mute. I love to watch games on mute, because you can see the communication happening naturally if the communication is happening on the floor. The other one is committed. We're truly committed to what we do. We are all in on our system. We're all in on how we are willing to get beat. And you think about the shots that we want to create. We stat every single game afterwards, and we do a created shot. Was that a shot that we wanted the offense to shoot? And we stat that out. Our goal is 75% after each game. And we try to say our guys know. And unique to that is it gives a lot of freedom for them because they know they're going to get mid-range jumpers, and how they get them. Can we push those shots out from 6 feet to 8 feet to 10 feet to 12 feet? And every 2 feet that we fight for is changing the percentage of the shot. But we're committed to doing that. One of the stories that we love to tell to our guys is we were playing Chattanooga last year at our place, and they had two dynamic guards. They came in and they shot 61% on us at our place on a nationally televised game. And we were really upset because defensively, we felt like, we were one of the best defensive teams, not only in the SoCon, but in the country. And a team came in and shot 61%. And so in the locker room, we start freaking out. We're like, man, no one shoots 61% against us. We're way more physical than them. We're way more committed to what we do. And we were really upset. So in the locker room, we were letting the guys have it. And, one of the things, we came back, we watched the game afterwards, and they shot 81% of their shots were created shots. They just happened to hit 61% of them that game. Lost by 4 at our place. And, we had to come in the next day and apologize because we yelled at them for the shots that we said as coaches we wanted to create. And they just happened to make shots that night. Fast forward 2 weeks later, we go play at Chattanooga. They shoot 37%, and we beat them by 25. And we just are truly committed to how we play, and we believe it gives a lot of freedom to the guys that are in our system to say, this is the shot that we're trying to create. And then consistent. You'll see what we do defensively. There's a lot of consistency to what we do. It seems simple, but there's a lot of layers to how we play. So this is kind of our defensive culture along with our system of knows. Some of our in-game goals that we try to get to, these are things that we write up on the whiteboard. We try to put this in perspective of what our guys are aiming for every single game. Our goal is 42% field goal percentage. We truly believe if we can defend and rebound, that we can let our guys play in transition. Last year we were fortunate enough to have 40% was our overall goal, and what we actually got. So that meant 60% of the time we were playing in transition, which meant 60% of the time we're not calling plays. We're letting our guys be fast and free. It's hard to play fast and free when you keep taking the ball out of the net. So for us, we want to get it off the backboard and push it down the floor. Another one of our goals is 6 kills. When you think about a kill, a lot of teams call it 3 stops in a row. We call a kill anytime you get a stop, score, and a stop in sequence. One of the things that we really want to happen is we want our stops to generate points on the opposite side of the floor. We don't want to just trade stops, junk possessions for junk possessions. And so we try to have our stops create separation in what we do. And so we feel like we can get 6 of those. We're in a really good spot to be successful. That's at least plus 12 on the scoreboard throughout the game. So if you get it, and a lot of times it helps with our guys' mentality. We're going into a timeout down 4 with 1:30 to go. Our guys are saying, just get a kill. Just get a kill. If we get a stop, score, and a stop, that means we're down 2 with the basketball and a chance to win the game. We're winning this game. And so it creates these kind of micro games within the game that our guys are just saying, hey, just get a kill. Winning the backboard is a big part of what we do. We want to make sure that we're hitting and finishing possessions, because turnovers to us are bad shots and great rebounds. And so we've got to finish positions with rebounds. And then free throws. We talked about that before. We want to be extremely physical about the way we play, but we also want to be in a position that we're doing it with discipline. We're not just fouling to foul. We want to make sure we're teaching the guys the right way to be physical. The best example we have for that is a defensive back. A lot of times in a defensive back, if he's scrapping with a wide receiver going for a pass, if he doesn't turn his head and look back, like they're calling a penalty. If he does the same thing and he looks back, they're not calling anything. So it's just those little things that we can do within the basketball game to make physical plays legal. There's always a legal way to do that. And so for us, we want to be very disciplined as well as physical. Some of the success that you mentioned before and why we believe in our system so well is because, we have had some success in the Southern Conference. We were number 1 in defensive efficiency, number 1 effective field goal percentage, overall field goal percentage, defensive rebound and rebounding margin. We're also top in some other categories as well, 3-point rate, assisted field goal rate, some stats that matter to us. But these are the major categories that we felt like had success in the Southern Conference. And the reason why, we just believed in our system so much. One of the things that's unique about this as we transition, we kind of looked at our system as like, is this something that's unique to the Southern Conference, or is this something that can be translated? And what we really did this offseason is we studied App State. App State was the number 1 defensive team, really strong defensive team throughout the country, but number 1 in the Sun Belt last year. And you can see those categories to the left, and then the national ranking there to the right, ours at Western Carolina, and then App State in their area as well. And you can see the very similar systems and how they play. And so we felt like our league, it'll translate very well to what we do. And Coach, I'm going to quiz you here to see if you know our no's. I know it's been different, but I'm going to see what are one of our no's.
I'll give you all 3 because I love them. No catch and shoot threes, no middle, and no second chance points. I want to ask you a question as we get ready to watch some film together. Talk about consistent and committed. When I watch you play and I study your teams, there is in-game adjustments, but the overall defensive philosophy doesn't change. You're committed to that. Yeah. And I see sometimes, and in my own career, mid-season changes and adjustments created doubt for my players. Big changes created doubt because we spend all summer and fall working on one thing, and then there was a tendency to change, and some coaches have a tendency to change, and it creates doubt. Talk about how it is as a coach. It takes a lot to stay committed and consistent to what you do defensively? And then what does that tell your players?
Yeah, I think it gives our guys a lot of freedom. It's a great question because I do think that building trust is a big part into believing in what we do. And as you build trust, you get more buy-in. And our guys are completely committed to what we do defensively, and they
Yes.
understand what we do. And so there's a lot of times where a guy can make 4 or 5 shots in a row, and you think a lot of times you're freaking out and you're saying our guys will be in huddle saying created shots. They can't beat us on those shots. And so it just creates this mentality and this buy-in that builds trust to what they do. And so when you're consistent, like we said before in personal life, if you're consistent, it builds respect and it builds trust. And so one of the things that we try to do is be consistent in what we do defensively, and our guys truly respect that and have an understanding of what we're trying to look for defensively, which creates an even greater buy-in.
Yeah. Another question. I want you to clarify this because this is different across the country. Kills. You have a different definition of a kill.
Right.
Some it's bricks, skills, 3 stops in a row. Explain yours again. I love it.
Yeah, a kill for us is anytime you can get a stop, score, and a stop in sequence. And so we're charting that on the bench, so our guys know exactly what we're looking for. And anytime we get a stop and a score, the next time down the floor, you'll hear our bench say, "Kill, stop for a kill, stop for a kill." Like we're really trying to aim to get those for us because, like we said, we want separation with our stops. We don't just want stops; we want separation. We want guys that can convert, get a stop off the backboard, push it down the floor, get in transition, create an opportunity to get a quick bucket, and let's get back down here and defend again. That's demoralizing to a team when they can go stop,
Yes.
score, stop, start to get separation on the scoreboard.
Yeah. And the final question, go talk a little bit more about created shots. Your team pushes other teams to make and take created shots.
Yes.
Talk about that and the philosophy behind that.
Yeah, creative shots is a big thing that we try to stat, and that's off the bounce mid-range jumpers or shots to
Yes.
guys that we say we want them to shoot. Sometimes we dare guys to shoot the basketball from the perimeter that we don't think can shoot. And so even in those sense, we feel like those are created shots for us. And, it's been funny to kind of watch it evolve because when you play against our defense, you know exactly what you're going to get. And the other team knows exactly what they're going to get. And it's just kind of this battle of we truly believe that we can be better at defending than you are at running your action. And so our guys buy into that and truly believe that that's the best way to beat a team. And so the biggest compliment that I think you can see is we start watching teams warm up. They get there at the 75-minute mark, they're on the floor. They warm up differently against us. The shots that they shoot, they're teams that don't normally shoot off the bounce jumpers are practicing off the bounce jumpers. You see 5-man trying to hit shots. You see all these different things that typically don't normally happen in a warm up, but they know those are the shots that they're going to get and that they have to hit in order to be successful for us. But truly what we're thinking, watching them warm up is all those are created shots. And so if they're going to beat us on those shots, they're going to have to beat us on those shots. But we know what we're willing to give up. We're okay getting beat the way that we know we're going to defend.
Yes. All right, let's keep going. That's great stuff.
Yeah. And you think about our system and you think about no catch and shoot threes, no middle, and no second chance points. Like the numbers will reflect that. I think having a system is super important, but you also have to know, are you effective in doing that? And so when you think about no catch and shoot threes, you can see at the bottom, our national ranking down there, our 3-point field goal rate was 34th in the country. I know our percentage was high, but there's a way difference between going 3 of 9 versus going 7 of 21. Like we want to make sure that we knew we were going to be extremely successful at lowering the rate. Even the ones that they hit, are we okay with them hitting it? It's going to be a very low volume. And so no catch and shoot threes, that's big for us, which also affects your assist rate. The best way to get a catch and shoot three is a drive, kick, and a guy knocks in a shot. We are number 2 in the country in assisted field goal rate, which means you really have to guard the basketball at an elite level in order to play our defense. But you can see we're executing that at a great rate. No middle for us is actually, we simulate that on the shots that we want you to shoot. Those are created shots again. And so that's our physicality on the basketball, how far we can push out certain shots. And you can see based upon our national rankings last year, we were top 30 in the country in effective field goal percentage and top 20 in 2-point field goals, which means they're not getting easy twos in transition, but they're also not getting any layups in transition as well. So that's a big part for how we play. And then the last one is no second chance points. We're top 20 in the country the last 2 years running the system at Western Carolina in our rebounding rate. So not only are we having a system, but we're executing our system at a high level. And if you can look at the very bottom number there, turnover rate, 350 in the country, we're basically one of the worst teams in the country at creating turnovers. And so when we looked at a stat sheet, we never even looked at how many times we were turning over a team. When everything matters, nothing matters. And so for us, we truly believe that we want to be really good at the stats that matter to us. A lot of times people say great defensive teams are teams that turn people over. We believe that it's to create a stop is actually the best defensive teams. We just get stops a little bit differently. We force you into tough twos, and then we defensive rebound, and we get to play in transition. One of the things we really try to do, and we talked about transition a lot because we want to play 5-on-5. We do not want to play in disadvantaged situations. We want to make sure we're playing in 5-on-5 with a set defense. That's the best thing we do. And that happens with shot selection and transition defense. So our guys have transition jobs. What we do for them is we label a guy and we give him a job no matter what. You're either a crasher, a sweeper, or a get back guy. And our crashers crash. They're supposed to make multiple movements. They can't just run up a guy's back. They have to make a secondary effort to the middle of the floor so they don't get pinned to the baseline side. Our sweepers are a little bit more of our heady guards, guys that can make decisions to either stop the basketball or run down a loose rebound at the top of the key. Sometimes the ball gets batted in there, and we trust them that they can make a decision to go get the basketball in that position. They're get back guys. Their job is to sprint back and get turned. And like we said, we label these guys so it changes throughout the game. You may have 4 crashers, you may have 2 crashers, you may have 1 crasher, but that guy knows his job. And again, we'll grade those out after every game, and our guys' jobs are supposed to be at 75%. And so after every game, we'll put it on a chart, and they'll see it in our film session. Was I above the standard or was I below the standard in my transition job? Here's some of our teaching progression as you kind of look at how do you really unpack our defensive system. These are kind of the progression of what we work through. It's pad rebounding, it's big step, it's tennis ball drills. These are the drills that we try to do to formulate the foundation of how we play defensively. And so we'll walk through some film and show a little bit about what that looks like, but it's really unique to us to unpack for our guys to fully understand what they do. We don't believe in dumb drills. One of the things that we try to do is everything we do needs to show up in a game. And if it doesn't, then we need to drill it a different way. I think it just continues to build trust, and it continues to build buy-in in our system when they can see, oh yeah, that's the big step drill. Oh man, that's figure 4 closeout. Oh yeah, that's level off the dribbler. They see those little drills and what we do and how they translate into game experiences. And so the first thing we also are really big on is our language. We truly want our guys to be speaking the same language in a climate right now that has a lot of transfers, maybe multi-year transfers. They need to speak our language. That's the number one thing that we are really big on is our terminology. On the left-hand side is our terms, things that they are responsible for saying. And then there's phrases on the right side that you'll hear our coaches say throughout. And so they need to know not only what they're supposed to say, but also what they'll hear from us a lot of times so that it can make sense to who they are and how we play. And so a lot of times you can get into 2 weeks or 3 weeks and they're trying to learn 4 or 5 calls and they're like, man, this is tough. It was like, hey, there's a lot more to this that we got to get to. So perfect these 5 things so we can master the other ones as we move on. And so this is a little bit more of our language of how we speak, what we say, how we say it, because a lot of people call things different ways, but in our program, you're going to say exactly how it's supposed to be said.
Coach, big emphasis on this across the country. I'm watching coaches really put a big emphasis on this because of the portal. Tell me some ways that you day to day make this verbal, visual, reinforce it with the way guys learn. finding how they learn and use the visual, the verbal, the tactile, to teach your language, because that's super important as you get into games. It's incredibly important that they know the coastal language.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think one of the things we really try to do is start simple. Like we're not trying to give them all this at one time, but we really want to make sure that they're understanding based upon the drills that we do, just working on our verbal communication and what we're supposed to be doing. And then, this summer we spent a lot of time on defense. We believe in defense. We believe in culture. And so we really spent a lot of time this summer doing that. It wasn't a ton of skill work. A lot of it was based on trying to put our system in. And so they truly understood what we were trying to do. So we did, of our 4 hours, we did 3 hours and 30 minutes of actual on court, and we saved 30 minutes of film that we would watch both individually and collectively as a group to use our 4 hours each week in the summer. And we felt like it was really good for our guys to see it. And then just the time that they spent in the film room understanding, or in the offices understanding what we do and how we teach it, was really important. But we hold them accountable to it. Like the best way you can do that is hold them accountable. You stand there, you listen, you make sure you're very in tune to what they're saying. And a lot of times, they may call a different ball screen coverage in this section of the floor versus this section of the floor, and they may mess it up. Hey, blow it dead, do your 5 burpees, next guy's in. Like there's a punishment attached to making sure that we're actually doing the right thing and saying the right thing. We're sticklers on it, both on the court and in the film room. And one of the things that we really try to do, like we talked about before, is the best thing that we do is we watch film on mute, because you can see if our communication's happening, and if the guy is saying the right thing, then the guard will react the right way, and vice versa. And so we're really big on our communication, and we're really big on the opportunity that they have to do that and learn in a variety of different ways.
Oh yeah, I've been to your practices, and your team communicates extremely well, particularly your bigs. And you guys do a really, really good job of having the same language. And it really, it translates into good defensive efforts, consistency. Yeah. All right, let's keep going, Coach.
All right, wait, here it is. Some of the drills we always start off with, when you're a defensive minded program, you got to start with defense. And so one of the things that we do right away is just one of the things that we have is this pad rebounding. We just manager, coach shoots a shot, ball goes up, and then we go back and hit. And then we go back and get the basketball. We hit and get. Their biggest thing is to track it down, but make sure they're finding it high. Here it is in a game, and here how it shows up. Shot goes up, and it's very similar. You can see we got pad high rebounding. We create an umbrella. We run down a rebound. We get to play in transition. As soon as we go from pad high, we go to pad low. Pad low rebounding. All we're trying to do is hit and block out. You can see Colin down there. He's not trying to rebound the basketball, but what he is trying to do is drive his man out and create a pocket for the other guy to rebound. We're not overly blessed with great size and athleticism at the 5 a lot of times. And so their job is to just get their man out of the play. You can see it here from pads low rebounding. Here's Colin down here, number 4 against Chattanooga. He clears out a pocket, just drives him to the baseline, not trying to rebound the ball. This is why we say it's a system that rebounds, not one player. Again, here's the guard cracking down with a cleanup position there. Here's what happens in the game. We could test. The guard cracks down. Trey puts his body on his man, drives him to the baseline side, creates a pocket. We get clean defensive rebounds. We go pads low, pads high, clean up, and then we also do 3 on a fence. 3 on a fence rebounding. A lot of times 5 out has been a lot more apparent in offensive structures right now. So there's not really a guy low to block out. So we got to get used to going back and finding guys, hitting, and then go back and get it to really earn that step. A lot of times in baseball, if you're an outfielder, they tell you when the ball is hit, right, your first step is back. You got to have that same mentality when a shot goes up. It's my first step is not at the rim. My first step is actually at my man. I go hit, create a big umbrella around the rim. Now we can go back in and defensive rebound and attack the basketball. Very similar to an outfielder would at the crack of a bat. Here it is, 3 on the fence, shot goes up. That's a contested shot off the bounce. We hit, and then you can see, sometimes Colin's job down here, 32, is to be a guy that drives his guy to the baseline. Sometimes his job is to be a cleanup guy, and you got to know what your job is and what your responsibility is. Shot goes up. This time, he's the cleanup guy. He comes back and gets the defensive rebound. If you look to the left side of the floor down here, this is figure 4 closeout. It's a simple drill, but all we're doing is winning our closeout with 2 high hands. He's going 2 big slides, cut him off, 2 big slides again on a counter. What we're trying to do is not only to get the basketball level, but to defend the guy's counter. We said a big part of what we do is actually defending the basketball. And so we want to make sure they're breaking it down. You can see it here in the game, very similar to what we did before. 2 high end closeout, he cuts him off, he gets his counter, and he's able to get back to a rear view contest and put a hand in front of him on the shot to at least contest it. So a lot of times people just cut him off and then the guy counters and he gets a free layup. We really want to work on putting our foot on our ground, changing direction, and getting back in front. We saw this clip earlier, contested shot, moves him to the baseline, and then we get a rebound. What we
Coach,
talked
that
about
would be
before,
a great example. That would be a great example of a created shot.
yes. Yes, those are all created shots for those. Guys coming off, shooting a contested mid-range jumper off the bounce that's unassisted. That's a created shot for us. If it goes in, it goes in. But we're committed to saying defend those as best as possible. You know, you mentioned how we work on our language. This is one of the reasons that we do this. We do a simple drill called pad connect, and all we're working on is our guard guarding the basketball at the 4-point line. You can see him. He's not overly extended. Our big comes up, makes communication. You can tell that communication happens because he makes an unnatural movement and attaches to the hip of the ball handler at the top of the key. We're working on our bigs being early, loud, and often with their calls, but not only being in the right position, but having the right presence as well. You can be in the right position, but have the wrong presence, and it's really not an effective defensive possession. So they're working on both, being low, sitting down, having their hands up, ready to guard. So when the guy comes off the ball screen, he sees a chest. All we're working on is working on our verbals to connect, and then we're working on positioning of the big. And so it's a simple drill just to form the habits of our language and having our guards react to the voices of our bigs. If we do play a shooting 5, a lot of times you can say, man, how does this work? You kind of drop coverage. There's ways that we can play within our system that still allows us to switch, but we want to switch to our strengths. And one of the ways we switch to our strengths is getting to a veer. We still will do our exact same ball screen coverage where we'll hide what we do, but we'll still do the exact same thing. We'll connect, and then we call it connect and direct. He'll escort him inside the 3-point line, and then we'll trade at that point with a closeout from our guard. So we're simulating right now playing against a pick and pop 5, normal ball screen coverage, our ice and weak coverages, pushes him down, escorts back, big jumps to the gap, and then we win our closeout back out to the pick and pop 5. There's ways that we can get back on our matchups within our system. We don't freak out about switches. We can find ways to get back to our original matchups, or at least find a more favorable matchup within the system that we do, which is why we say there's a lot of layers to how we play, not just based on what we do in that exact moment. Here it is on the sideline, same look. We're connecting, just working on our calls, our presence, our positioning, and then our physicality on the basketball, not allowing the guy to go middle. Same thing we do here on the ball screen coverage. We push down, pop back. Our bigs jump to the gap. You can see we're really attentive to our bigs jumping back into the gap to not allow runways for our guys to see and drive the basketball. Very important for how we play, that we're not scared of switches and we're able to have in-game adjustments like you talked about before, but still based upon the philosophy and system that we have. Another drill we do a lot of is level off the dribbler. We get in these situations a lot. Our low man is in, we call this support. All he's trying to do is support the ball handler, and our guard is trying to level off. He's trying to put his chest on him on the second dribble, level him off, and then we really work on cracking the pad with physicality. As we get a go call, the big leaves, and he gets ready to level it off. Here it is in the game. Big's a little bit more on ball side this time, but you can see us level off the ball. We get back in front. Now we guard the basketball again. That was on a go call. If we get to a veer call, he drives down. Now the big stays deep, and our guard veers off, and he cracks the pad and gets back in front while our big attacks it. Here it is again. You can see it in the game. Very similar to what we were at before. Our bigs in drop coverage. Our guard is chasing because we do chase all of our actions over the top. He chases. We stay deep. This is for sure a created shot, a 7-foot shot blocker over the top of a 1-foot finish in the middle of the lane. Our guard comes down, cracks down, and we can create a created shot with a cleanup rebound. That's exactly what we want to create as many times as possible in a game. Here
Coach,
it
you
is.
can see the physicality in practice transitioning to the physicality in your game film here. How hard you're hitting the
Yes.
pad, low hips, physical, making strong contact in your drills has transitioned well into this game film.
Yeah, and one of the things that we want to try to err on, especially early, we're going to err on the side of physicality because we talked about that before. That's our secret sauce. We'll continue to teach technique as we go, but the number one thing they have to understand is the physicality in what we play. Technique will come separate, and that's one of the things that we really try to make sure that they understand is, hey, we're a work in progress. We're continuing to grow as a team, especially early. They have to understand that you got to play intense and you got to play physical. Err on the side of physicality versus technique early, and then we'll adjust to that as we get better and as we watch more film on who we are. But here it is all together. You get a chance to kind of see what it looks like in a game film. So we chase all of our actions like we talked about before. We're chasing. You can see our big is back. Even if the big shot this shot, that's a non-paint 2 created shot for us if he pins up from that position. We still chase, and this is a great example of trust and belief in what we do. So Vontarius is chasing here over the top. It would be really, really enticing to go underneath this gap. There's a window there. It looks enticing, but because our belief in our system, the trust that we had and the buy-in that we had from our guys, they continue to chase. Again, if you are a non-shooter, we will gap you up. And so you can see DJ's in his gap right here. So when he turns this corner, while we chase, what we see is a bunch of chest. It's not a position where you want to be here and you see a runway. You can see DJ's in this position, but we call this his load leg. He's loaded up on his right leg, getting ready to win his closeout. So he's in his gap, but he also has a mindset to leave his gap at the same time to win his closeout back out to his shooter. So you can see what it looks like. We get a ball screen coverage here. And that's off the bounce, rear view contest. So when you think about a created shot, this is a created shot all day for us. It's an off the bounce 3, unassisted, right? We defend in multiple actions. We all block out, and then we run down rebounds. Exactly what it should look like. Again, ball screen coverage in the middle of the floor. Big's back. We'll chase it down over the top. He levels it off. And then you can see we don't overextend ourselves defensively. We stay at the 4-point pickup line. We're not trying to pressure you. We're not trying to turn you over. We're staying back. And we're staying disciplined. Very similar, we like to say, like a shot collar on a dog when they have the invisible fence. We're not crossing that fence. We're staying right back at our point of pickup line. And we're sitting back and a bend don't break. Good ball screen coverage happened again. You can even watch on this film. We don't need audio to know. This is kind of what we talked about before, watching on mute. You know that there's communication that happened because it's a very unnatural movement for the guard to take place by shifting his hips that wide open. So you know the big made a call. You know the guard heard him. You know there's been communication. Again, off the bounce jumper, non-paint 2. Everybody hits. Everybody rebounds. Here it is again, ball screen coverage. On the other side, we keep the ball in the middle floor. We chase. You can see a lot of times these guys on the weak side. This is our 3 on a fence drill. We got 3 guys on the weak side as they chase. We're not helping. And you almost always are playing 2-on-2 and 3-on-3 is how we play. So these guys are just playing 2-on-2. And we got to win a bunch of 2-on-2 matchups based upon how we play because we're not getting in rotations and we're not getting a place where we're over helping. Shot goes up, big goes down, guard comes back and cleans up. We really try to teach multiple efforts from our guards. So yes, you contested, but your job's not done. Your job's not done. You've got to get back into play. And he does a great job of getting back into play and finishing a rebound. This is one of my favorite clips, just to kind of show the buy-in and trust of our guys. And if you pay attention to number 0, Kamar Robertson down here, who was a transfer from Mercer, had a great year for us. But you can look at this possession right here, and you can see this gap that would be so normal for him to take, so easy for him to take. And honestly, if he took it, we'd probably be like, yeah, that makes sense. But this just shows the level of buy-in and trust that he has for us, that he's willing to take the high road. It makes no sense. It's very unnatural. He obviously could have went underneath that screen, but he didn't. He decided to chase because that's what our system says. And that shows complete buy-in in a short amount of time from a guy who transferred. That didn't just happen. It happened through accountability, it happened through trust, and it happened through belief in how we play. Again, here's another action here. He chases. You can see DJ chasing. This time he knows he's beat, so he calls veer. We call this win the pocket. You can see how he wrap switches the big, gets to the inside, and throws his right hand into the pocket. We really want to win the pocket from here. So our bigs stay back, and a lot of times our guards have to win this window. He gets in there, he bodies him up, gets into his legs, gets the loose ball again. Now we're on the floor, and you can see again, a loose ball, we're going off and getting it. So you can see what it looks like with the level of physicality that you have to play with, but also the level of execution. Another clip here that you can see again, we're chasing all these actions over the top, taking away the three-point line. Again, communication happens here because we know he shifts his hips, moves. Now we get into a switch. They level off our big. This is where we talk about the layers of what we have. We call this a scram switch. Anytime they got a mismatch with a guard in the middle of the floor, we'll throw our next biggest guy at it. So we recognize that we got a guard on a big. So how we switch it back to normal, we switch back, we throw the next biggest guy on him. Now we got a guard on guard matchup. Again, we get the ball level here on the ball screen. He levels them off, gets a go call, high hand closeout. He shoots a contested 3 over a 7-footer. You can see the blockouts that happen. We block out here in the middle lane. This is pads high, again, pads low. And then you can see DJ here goes in and cleans it up for a lot of clean rebounds. We're not getting in arm battles. We're not tipping at the basketball. We're trying to just win our block out and trust that the cleanup guy's going to go there and do it again. Again, defensively, you know communication happens again. We're not even watching with audio. You can see Trey jumps to an unnatural movement. He chases it down, knows he gets into a veer situation, wins the pocket, hits the big. And again, coach, this is a great example of what a creative shot would look like. This is a non-paint. This is a 8-foot jumper, left-handed shot in the middle of the lane. I know he's left-handed, but it's still contested. If you make these shots, you make these shots against us. We're saying you got to make 30 of them to beat us.
Right.
And again, defensive rebound, and we're in transition. We'll chase over the top. It's the same action. We're chasing him off the three-point line. Once he gets off the three-point line, we get to a veer call. Our big goes vertical. He doesn't try to block the shot. All he says, I'm trying to go vertical and make you finish over the top of us while our guard goes in and wins the pocket. This is where we try to be really physical, but also execute the discipline of what we do and not allowing the big to just swat down and get a foul. He keeps his hands high, tries to finish over the top, guards into the big's legs. And again, we create a defensive rebound. So you can kind of see how we drill it and then how it gets back to how we play and an overall defensive system. And so you can kind of see the whole system philosophy, the part and how we break it down, and then the whole again on what it looks like on game day.
Absolutely. I love to recap on all these. I love to recap just some of your great stuff, Coach. Defense wins. Our system. No catch, the standards, the unmovables. No catch and shoot threes, no middle, no second chance points. The 3 C's: connected, committed, consistent. For coaches out there taking notes, that's really good. And then watching film with you, how many times you use those words. It's just not on a sheet of paper. It's how you live defensively, how your teams lived. I love this now, Coach. Watch practice on mute. 36 years of coaching, I never did that. I'm going to do that this afternoon. That's really, really, as I study film, I'm going to do that. Created shots, 42%, 6 kills, win the backboards, free throws. When everything matters, nothing matters. Coaches out there, particularly young coaches, that's super important. It's super important to put that philosophy to what is your philosophy? What do you believe in? Because if it's so wide, then it has no depth. I love your crasher sweepers and your get back guys. It gives certainty to offensive rebounding. It gives certainty to defensive transition. Big on language. I love this for coaches across the country, 3.5 hours on the court and the half hour in film. The discipline to do that in the summer is really, really, really good. Bigs talk early and often, switch to a strength. And then, I love your terminology, scram. I've always loved that. Understand physicality early, technique comes next. Your attention to detail, coach, is impressive. Your buy-in quickly. That's so important in our current climate in college basketball. To get a transfer in 1 year that played multiple years in another system to buy in quickly. There's more than just the X and O's, and that's a whole nother time, a whole nother podcast talking about how to get young people to buy in early and quickly. Speaks of your culture. And then to win the post or win the pocket. Win the pocket. I love that terminology, to extend that inside hand and to win the pocket as sometimes you have to veer. Coach, it's super impressive. I love what you guys do. If coaches have questions, Coach Lightfoot, how can they contact you?
Yeah, please do. Best way to reach out to me is I'm actually pretty good with email. It's really easy. It's just Ryne, RYNE @coastal.edu. I'd love to get in touch with you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you're ever in the Carolina area, please stop by practice. We love having coaches at practice. Unless you're on our schedule, you are not welcome. Everybody else is more than happy to come. And after we play, you can always come to a practice if you need to. But
yeah,
I want to just thank you, Coach, again for doing this, and all the coaches that you're able to impact through Nations of Coaches, but also through the Growth Series. And I'd be failed to mention if I didn't, we put a lot of weight on our system defensively, but you mentioned it before. The buy-in and the character of our guys. That's the number one thing that we really try to make sure that we address in the recruiting process, is having the right guys in the locker room that truly represent who we are and what we're all about, and buy into how we play. It's not easy to be a defensive-minded program. A lot of people want to score and want to be a part of that, but the character that we have is unique, and it's something that we develop, but it's also something that we're intentional to recruit to, because who they are is actually what makes the system special. We talk
absolutely
about physicality. It's not what we do or how we coach or the accountability. It's who they are and how they respond to our coaching that really separates us.
And thank you, Coach Lightfoot, for who you are. Thanks for being a great example for coaches to watch out there, how you carry yourself, how you treat your players, how you treat your family is super impressive and a blessing for all of us. And thank you for being with us today on our in-season growth series, playing at a higher level of play. That's our goal, is to help coaches in every area play at a higher level. If we can serve you at Nations of Coaches, please contact us. My email is bradebaugh@nationsofcoaches.com. If we can serve you in any way, if we can connect you with coaches who can help you grow, let us know. We want to do that. And thank you. Thank you, Coach Lightfoot. We're praying for you. We wish you the best. And thank you for sharing with us your defensive system.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.